guys, so it is quite literally 1,000,000 degrees in England, and for some unknown reason I must be the only person who's able to catch a cold during a heat wave. So firstly, I'd like to apologise for the fact there is a fan in the background. I am too hot not to have a fan. I think in some countries it's really standard to have like aircon in your house, but in England it is never normally this hot, hence why we are not prepared. We are ready for rain, we are ready for storms, we're ready for thunder and lightning and snow. We are not ready for heat waves. So firstly, I apologise for the fan. Secondly, I apologise for if I just look bunged up. It's because I am bunged up. Fantastic. So today I thought I'd talk a little bit about Saniderm, something I've only kind of recently started to talk about on my channel, but I love tattoos. So I do have quite a few myself. Now I think the reason why it's not kind of like straight up obvious is just because I keep my arms clear, and that's just because of my like future career path. I do plan to get tattoos on my arms and things, but I'm waiting until I've kind of got a steady job and I'm out of this like critical period in like my teaching career where everything really matters. Once you're kind of into teaching and like you've got a job and everything's really stable, I think then it's okay. But right now everything I have is coverable, hence why you can't really see it. In like my teaching career where everything really matters, once you're kind of into teaching and like you've got a job and everything's really stable, I think then it's okay. But right now everything I have is coverable, hence why you can't really see it when I'm here. But most of my tattoos are around my ankles, they're on my thighs, I've got some kind of on my hips and things, so I can just kind of whip on a pair of leggings and no one will see them. Recently, however, I decided that I was going to get a larger piece on my thigh. Now, I have got a large thigh piece on the side of my thigh, but it's quite high up. Even when I'm wearing like short dresses like this, you can't really see them. So it was a little bit of like a big step for me to get something right on the front of my thigh and slightly lower down, just because this means if I am at school, there is no way that I can kind of just shove on a dress and a pair of long socks and it'd be okay. So it's quite a big commitment, but honestly I'm so pleased that I did it, and I have actually now booked up to get the back of my calf done at the end of July, so I'm really excited for that. I think I've gone past the point of trying to make it look like I don't have any tattoos on my legs. It is obvious now. I've gone too far up from the bottom and I'm going too far down from the top, so I might as well but one on my calf. Okay, so in the last kind of year I've been doing loads of research into tattoos. I've gone about this, originally was following a lot of like tattoo YouTubers. I really recommend Treacle Tatts. I will leave a link down below, and I know I've mentioned her in a previous video because her channel just has so much information on there, and if like me you kind of crave information, you want to know everything there is to know, go on there because she covers pretty much any topic. And since she's quite like a heavily tattooed person herself, she can talk to you in a lot more experience than I can, just because since I'm not like visibly tattooed on my arms, I experienced everything that someone who would have like very visible tattoos would have. So as you may or may not know, a year or so ago I started looking for a new artist. I'd gone through a little period of time where I hadn't got any tattoos, but I really felt like it was time for me to get back on track and carry on getting things that I wanted to get. She found my current artist, Amy Lou, who I'll leave down below. I found her actually through Kitty's Boutique, which as you know is one of the Halloween shops that are open in the UK all year round, and I was talking to the shop owner. It turned out we lived relatively close, like literally half an hour away, and she used this artist to get some of her Halloween tattoos, so I kind of went there to sort of see what it was about. I got one little kind of cat Halloween tattoo on my hip, and then after that I was like, loved her style, I loved her as an artist, and I was just really pleased with the whole process of getting tattooed by her. She is slightly more expensive than my previous artist, but as you've probably heard before, cheap tattoos aren't good and good tattoos aren't cheap, so I'm happy to pay slightly extra if it means that what I have on my body forever is slightly better. So the reason why I'm saying all this is because I have always, since I was very little, wanted two specific tattoos. I wanted a lizard on my hip, which was actually the first tattoo I ever got when I was 18, and I wanted a portrait of my cat. So I knew I always wanted it on my left thigh, I knew that I always wanted it in a cameo frame, and I knew I always wanted him in a leather jacket. So since I was younger, that is what I wanted. Now I got my cat Fred when I was really young. I think I was probably about 4 or 5, and to be honest, my memory isn't that clear of my childhood, anyone before that, but some of my kind of earliest memories are me and my cat Fred. And so all the time I had Fred, I wanted to get a tattoo of him. As I said, I wanted it on my thigh. And then I turned 18 and I got my lizard tattoo. And I knew the artist that I was going to. I liked the artist, otherwise I wouldn't have bothered going to them. But I knew that they weren't the right artists for this tattoo. So I kind of prolonged it. And then my dear cat Fred did pass away. So that was about 2, maybe 3 years ago now, and then I got my kitten. So some of you may have seen Fred in my old videos if you have stuck around for that long. He was just a black old cat. He was covered in scars. He always looked like a mess. It made me look like a really bad owner because he was always just like got scars and like gashes all over him. But I swear, like, he was happy. He was loving life. So kind and snuggly and cuddly when he came home. I did, before I went into teaching, do a very tiny little bit of work in like a veterinary service, so I knew like the basics of how to clean a wound, and I made sure that they were never like going septic. I made sure he was always like happy and healthy, and if it had got to the point where I needed to take him to the vet, much like the reason why he died, I would have taken him to the vet. I'm not like a bad owner. Promise me, he was a happy cat. But some of you may remember him, and then I got my little kitten Gomez, who I have at the moment, which you probably are bored of seeing on my Instagram because that's all I do is post about my Gomez. But once I met my current artist, Amy Lou, I knew she was the right person to do this tattoo. I knew this style would work so well in her style. And every time I went and got tattooed by her, I was thinking, I wish I was getting my Fred tattoo right now. So finally, I bit the bullet. I think another thing that was putting me off is it is kind of the biggest piece, well, it's probably the biggest piece that I have got so far, and I knew it was going to be expensive. I knew I was going to have to be sat on the chair for longer than I have sat before, and I think I was a little bit apprehensive about, one, like the pain tolerance for a longer piece, and two, how I was going to raise some money, since I am a full-time student, and that means I cannot work full-time, so money is very tight. But I saved so much. I think I was saving pretty much everything I earned for a good like month and a half, which is quite hard when you have like a car to run, etc, etc. So I booked my tattoo, I saved enough money, I went and she showed me the design. Now the design was exactly what I'd asked for, but it didn't look like how I'd imagined it in my head. I don't know if you guys are the same, but when you have like an idea of a tattoo in your head, you don't actually know what it looks like, you just know all the elements that you want. And seeing it all together, I was like, wow, this isn't what I like originally thought, but she has incorporated everything that I want, and it works so well. And in fact, now that it's done, it is so perfect, and I can't even like imagine it in any other way. I think originally, like when I was younger, I wanted it to be more of like a realism tattoo, but I really don't think that would have worked. I don't think you would have kind of got this like playful character, because after all, it's not really realism if you're having a cat in a leather jacket. So something that really intrigued me after I started watching Treacle Tatts videos and various other kind of YouTubers videos, I also joined Treacle Tatts Facebook page, which is just like heaven for anyone who loves tattoos, because it's constantly people posting their ideas, new artists they found, and also like new healing things and just general information and questions as well. If I ever have a question, I go straight over there and ask it. But one thing that everyone started talking about was Saniderm. So I was really confused as to what Saniderm was. Before this, all the other ways I've healed my tattoos was literally just cling film. I know it's slightly controversial, like this topic of how long do you keep cling film on for. I would always keep cling film on for at least 4 to 5 days, but not the same piece of cling film. Obviously, I would take it off and clean it at least twice a day so that it stayed nice and fresh and clean, and that's how I've been doing it so far. I hate cling film. If you ask anyone who knows me during the time that I've been healing a tattoo, the thing I hate the most is the cling film, just because it's always moving. I have very sensitive skin, so sometimes with the cling film you can like attach it with like a bandage tape, and I always have a reaction to that, so that gets really itchy. And for the first kind of 5 days after I get a tattoo, I hate it. Like, I don't hate my tattoo, I just hate the process of healing it. So when I came across Saniderm as like a new way of healing it, I was like, okay, I'll give it a try. Anything for me to have to avoid cling film. And I have to say, I was really pleased with it. I feel like when I got this, I wasn't really sure to what extent this would affect the healing process. I didn't know whether or not this would be like a life changer, or if it would just make the healing process easier. And I think for me, obviously everything I say is from a personal perspective. I think the only kind of benefit it had for me was the fact I didn't have to use cling film. So the best way I can describe Saniderm is literally like the screen covers that you put on your phone. It works pretty much exactly the same. So I bought this Saniderm from an online site. I will leave them down below. Saniderm is quite hard to get hold of in the UK, and it is somewhat expensive. For this pack, which has 3 sheets in, it cost me £11, but definitely kind of worth it when you think that this will cover like at least 3 tattoos. So yeah, I bought this. It's called a personal pack with 3 sheets. I will leave a link down below. And it came quickly. I was really pleased with the company I bought it from. Very quick. They had great customer service. I got emails of all the process of it sending, so I definitely would recommend them if you're planning to buy it from them. And so inside you have your sheets of Saniderm. Now there were 3, as I said, but I used 1 whole sheet on my thigh. I could probably have cut it down slightly, but I'd say like 1 sheet would easily cover 1 large one. This one I've actually opened just because it did say to do a patch test, and my boyfriend was planning to use this as well, but he got a hand poked tattoo, and it turned out his artist just recommended that he just left it in the air. He didn't even want him to put cling film on it or anything, so he did a patch test. He wasn't allergic, but he didn't bother using it anyway. So this piece has actually had a cut out of it. It doesn't mean like this is a wasted sheet, just because if you did get like a palm size tattoo, you could probably cut it across there and you still have this whole strip at the bottom. So I think that was one thing I was slightly concerned about, is that I'd have to use like a whole sheet per tattoo, but in fact if you are getting small tattoos then you can just cut it down. So as I said, the only way I can describe this is like a screen cover for your phone. So I'm going to get some scissors and I'm going to cut like another little strip off and just show you exactly how it applies, because this was something which I was very confused about before I actually tried out the Saniderm. So as you can see, it's nice and like clean when you get it. It's kind of in like a completely sealed little case just to make sure nothing affects it or anything like that. And then you get your sheet. So it does have little squares around it, so you can copy, like follow the squares, and it is so easy to cut. As you can see, I've just literally cut that super quickly. So I'm just going to cut a little test square almost. Now the only thing that I did find with like using smaller pieces, which is why I didn't bother cutting down the bigger sheet so that it exactly fitted my thigh tattoo, is it's like harder to use when there's less of it there. So if you did, like for example, I've got like a little dot tattoo on my finger. If I was to get a piece of Saniderm for this, it would be so small it would just be completely pointless and it would probably fall off. So I will just say, as like an honest review, the bigger the piece of Saniderm, the easier that I find personally that it sticks. So let's pretend that I got a fresh new tattoo on my hand, and I've cut this to the right shape. So it kind of looks quite thick. It does have like a bend to it, and it does feel relatively like a phone protector screen. So it has this paper back to it. Now you need to make sure that the surface is completely clean before you actually apply it. You literally just peel off the paper backing, and as you can see, it's kind of got like a sticky area, and that goes straight on. So you want to kind of put it on in like a neutral position, so don't like clench, or if it's like your leg, you don't want to have your leg in like a funny position. You want it to be like relatively neutral so that your skin is just how it would be, and lay it down. Now the trick with Saniderm is to try and not get any air bubbles in, much like a phone case again. So it kind of looks like this. Now straight up, when it's on like this, it does feel quite like restricting. Like I can definitely feel there's something stuck to my hand. I did learn through trial and error that by heating this up a bit, it makes the the next part slightly easier. So you want to heat it up, you want to make sure it's all stuck down. Ideally that there's no air bubbles in, which I will go to later, because when I applied my thigh one I did get an air bubble in it. And then you need to just find the end and peel it off. Now something I found is like they've got this like additional like little kind of sticky up bit that doesn't have anything on the back of it, so you're meant to just like pull that, but I find this way always kind of messes up my corners, so I go from like the other side. And as you can see, as I peel this off, there is like a see-through layer left. And there you go. So then the corners do sometimes need sticking down, but then that is how you apply it. Now that is on there fine. I can obviously feel there is something on my hand, like it's not going to be completely like there is nothing there. But just from like my recent experience of having this on my leg, once you kind of get over that initial like, oh, there's something stuck to me, you can't feel it at all. Unlike cling film, this like moves with your skin. As you can see, like as I wrinkle my skin, it wrinkles with my skin. As I stretch my skin, it stretches. It's really, really nice. It's really, really breathable. The little corner is flicking up, which is why I did say that bigger ones work better, just because if you kind of put this into like a larger piece and this tiny little corner's flicked up, it's not so dramatic, but when it's on a tiny piece with a corner flicked up, it could kind of affect the coverage. And there's no special way of taking Saniderm off. It is just literally peel off like a plaster. Some people find this very, very painful. I found it very, very painful. It doesn't really hurt so much here on my hand, but some people say if you have a shower, which is what I did, if you're having a shower while you're taking your Saniderm off, it's not as painful and you're left with this kind of second skin almost. So now I've gone through the whole process of like how to apply Saniderm, I thought I'd talk more about my personal experience with it. Now of course everyone heals differently, everyone's bodies are different, and me personally, when I tattoo, I never scab. I hear a lot of people, I read a lot of things of people saying about their tattoos scabbing, and I just really don't get that at all. My tattoos all go through the same stages. I get it done, it hurts, the next morning it's covered in black plasma, I wipe it off, it looks shiny, and after like 4 or 5 days it starts peeling, and once the peeling goes, it's kind of left in this shiny stage, and my tattoos stay in this shiny stage for literally like 2 or 3 months. So when I show you my thigh tattoo in a minute, you'll see that it is still shiny. I would say that it is pretty much fully healed, like it's not dry anymore, it's definitely not like flaking or anything anymore, it's just shiny, and I am used to the fact that my tattoos stay shiny for quite a long time. So one of the things that people claim that Saniderm does is to stop your tattoos from scabbing. Now mine don't scab at all anyway, so I can't really use this as a benefit, but it's definitely worth considering perhaps if your skin likes to scab. So for me, I wasn't really sure what the benefit of putting Saniderm would be. I didn't know if it was going to stop it from peeling. Some people said it stops it from itching. So I went in with an open mind. Now what the actual Saniderm thing suggests you do is to clean the area and dry thoroughly, which is fair enough. Cut the bandage, allowing at least like 1 inch around the border, which is why I didn't bother cutting my one down. I just used a whole sheet. Peel it off, apply it exactly how I showed you on my hand, and leave the first piece on for 8 to 24 hours. And then after that first like day period, like that first kind of 24 hours of having a tattoo, as you'll know if you kind of usually wrap your tattoo in cling film, you're left with all that horrible black like gunky plasma that is just an absolute mess. And so if you're putting this like second skin on, that's all gonna leak into that, and it's just gonna look like a black mess under your Saniderm. Now it is fine to leave it there, but I think most people would rather take it off after 24 hours and apply a second piece of Saniderm. Now Saniderm is quite expensive and I am on a student budget, so what I decided to do is to use cling film for the first 24 hours. So I had my original cling film from my artist, I washed it off, I had like my appointment in the afternoon, so in the evening I washed it off, took off the cling film she put on there, I put on a nice new piece of cling film, and in the morning I woke up, it was lovely and black and gluey. I cleaned it off, and then at that point I added my Saniderm. But you can add Saniderm from the word go. I just found, rather than wasting a piece of Saniderm which was only going to be on there for 24 hours, I just used cling film for the first 24 hours. And then it suggests that you can wear another bandage for up to 7 days. So then, as I said, I did apply my Saniderm once the plasma had pretty much stopped leaking, and I left that on there for 5 days. So I did document it all through pictures, and it was an interesting ride. So I've got all like the photos on my phone, so I'm just going to refer to that. So I'll add photos as I talk you through the process. So when I first got it done, as you can see, it was nice and clean. There was like nothing much going on. Then it did start to get a little bit sore, and I had like little bits of plasma leaking, especially around the cat's like left ear. I kept just getting this random blob of plasma. I cleaned all the main plasma off in the morning, and then this little blob of plasma just kept appearing. So I wasn't sure if I should wait, if I should leave cling film on, but I thought whatever, I'll clean it off again, I'll put the Saniderm on, and I'll just see how long it lasts. If I need to take it off and have a second piece, I had enough pieces anyway in my little personal pack, so I figured it was fine. I would just see what happened. So I put the Saniderm on. It went on quite nicely. I did get my boyfriend to help me put it on, and I would recommend, if you have someone else who can help you put it on, it's definitely easier. Now it went on quite smoothly. I was like really conscious of air bubbles, because some people say that the air bubbles can completely like ruin the effect. I had one tiny little air bubble which was on the little pumpkin pin on my cat's jacket, and that air bubble didn't really cause any issues. I noticed when I took the Saniderm off, so we're like going forward 5 days, the pumpkin had started peeling but the rest of it hadn't. So if anything, for me, the healing process was slightly quicker where the air bubble was, because after I'd taken the Saniderm off and my pumpkin had already started peeling, it took a couple days for the rest of my tattoo to peel. So straight up, I was really pleased with the fact that I could put Saniderm on there and I didn't have to touch it. I don't think I mentioned you don't put any creams on. You literally wash everything off, you make sure it's dry, and then put the Saniderm on. You don't need to put any moisturizers, any like Savlon or anything on it. You just leave it like your skin. And then I noticed a few bits of plasma coming back. There was some like little black blotches. It was looking a little bit moist under there. But as I said, I went over to Treacle Tatts' Facebook page. I asked everyone on there who had used Saniderm before, and they said in fact that will just help keep it moisturized. So I left it on there, and I could see it was it was sort of gathering in the wrinkles of the Saniderm, but it still looked kind of relatively clean. It wasn't kind of all over the place, and it was just working relatively well. I was able to have a bath. Now I didn't submerge my leg in water at all, because it was on the top of my thigh. I just kind of had a more shallow bath than normal, so I was still able to have a bath. Saniderm is like shower and waterproof, but like not like submerging, but literally you can go in the shower and you don't have to worry about it, unlike cling film where you have to obviously take it all off before you can even get into the shower. Now something I did notice at the side of the Saniderm, it did start to kind of like waver a little bit, like it came away from the skin, almost like an air bubble at the side, and all of that like black plasma stuff slowly worked its way over there and just kind of shuffled out the side of the hole. So it did kind of naturally work its way out from underneath the Saniderm, but it left me with this like little air bubble on the side. So I did get some tape and just stuck like a big piece of medical tape down the side of it just to hold it in place. I was trying to avoid tape, but I didn't have like a reaction to it at all, so I'm not sure if maybe I have a reaction because when you have cling film it's kind of really pulling on the skin, whereas this was just literally just to hold an air bubble down. On the 3rd or 4th day I noticed like a pocket of this like see-through, it was almost like a plasma appeared on the banner part of my tattoo. I was slightly concerned about that, but literally it stayed there for a little while, it dried out, and then it just slowly disappeared. And as the days went by, the corners of the Saniderm did start to kind of come a little bit unstuck, so I did end up putting some more like medical tape, and one of the corners was just like flicking like I showed you on my hand, so I just literally got some scissors and just cut the corner off. And then that was fine. So the main part of the Saniderm stuck really well to my tattoo. I didn't have to worry about it getting exposed to anything. It was just kind of like that couple of inches around my tattoo where the Saniderm was just playing up, where it was getting caught on my clothes a little bit, where it was getting a little bit dusty, where it perhaps moved a bit too much because my thighs are quite big, so they're kind of moving, like the skin is moving a lot more than someone with very like toned thighs would be. And although there was, as I said, like plasma and strange things happening underneath there, it sorted itself out. I didn't have to take it off at all because of that. So after the 5 days were up, I got in the shower and removed my piece of Saniderm. Now I know this is really creepy that I kept this, but I wanted to like show you exactly what was removed. So Saniderm is really weird when you remove it. I thought maybe like cling film it would tear, but I swear I was like pulling this to the inch of its life and it didn't tear at all. It stayed in one nice piece, which is really good because you don't want like it to be like tearing all randomly across your tattoo when you're like trying to pick at the edge and potentially scratching your tattoo. So I was really pleased that it was all in like one big sheet. Now as you can see, this was the problem corner. This was the corner where things started to go wrong, so I did just stick 2 bits of tape. That was while it was like on my leg, and then other than the little corner that I cut off, the rest of it stayed intact. Now as you can see from this, is obviously used, but there is like so much stretch there, and you can like pull it as much as you want and that's not gonna rip. So that's another reason why it works so well on your skin, and also the fact that it's like breathable, so you don't have to like worry about suffocating your tattoo. Now it did come with like a slight imprint of some of my tattoo on it, which I thought was really weird. That again I was slightly worried about. After doing some research, apparently that is completely normal. Again, that's just like a collection of like plasma and stuff that's just stuck to that. Now once it comes off, it loses its stickiness, so you can't take it off and put it back on again. That's just not gonna work, it's not gonna stick, and it's not gonna be sanitary. And I'm not sure if maybe that's like a feature to it that they've done on purpose, but once I've peeled this off, this is like not gonna stick to anything ever again. It's completely like lost its stick. So it does also make it easier when you're peeling it off, because it's not getting like all stuck to your fingers. As I said, I was in the shower and I was just like peeling a little bit off, putting some water, peeling a bit off, putting some water, peeling a bit off. It came off, it hurt, don't get me wrong, it hurt because you're peeling it off of a fresh tattoo. It hurt more getting the tattoo, and also it was like the kind of pain that it hurt while it was coming off, but as soon as it's off, it didn't hurt anymore. It took me about 2 minutes to peel this off, which I know doesn't sound like very long, but when you're in the shower like working on it, I was like close to having a mental breakdown because I was like, I'm never gonna get this off my leg. But obviously it came off fine in the end. Once the Saniderm was off, it didn't leave any sticky residue, which I was really pleased with. And as I said, the little pumpkin bit where the air bubble had been had already started peeling, but the rest of my tattoo hadn't. So at that point, on like the 5th day after I got my tattoo, I thought, oh wow, maybe I've missed out this whole peeling phase. But no, if anything, it somewhat prolonged it. So whereas my pumpkin had already like started peeling, the rest of it took a couple of days and then it started peeling. It started getting very dry then. Obviously I was applying creams and stuff then and moisturizers just to make sure it stayed nice and moisturized. It didn't like stop it from peeling, it just made it peel a bit later. Again, I still got all the itchy phase. It may have not been as itchy as it could have been, but there's like no way of telling that. But I still had the itchy phase, I still had the peely phase, and it has healed really nicely. People say that Saniderm does help like preserve the colours and make the colours really bright and vibrant, but there's no way of me kind of comparing that. My colours on my tattoo now are nice and bright and vibrant, so I'm not sure if that is down to the tattoo or if that's just how I heal. So I'm not going to definitively say that the Saniderm made my tattoo brighter, but it definitely didn't make it less bright. So yeah, for me, I really like Saniderm. I definitely recommend it to people who, like me, are just fed up of cling film. You can also like avoid all like the creams and stuff in that first week. I do think perhaps it does like prolong my healing process slightly, just because it made my peeling happen slightly later. But for me, I think that was definitely worth like not having the hassle of having to wear cling film. In the future I definitely will be wearing Saniderm, but I think it depends where the placement will be. So I definitely feel like it's a good little alternate option to use if you're interested in trying to heal it a different way. As I said, for me, the only real benefit is just I don't have to use cling film. So that is my review of Saniderm. On the back it does say that it's latex free and it's meant to be breathable, waterproof, durable and hypoallergenic. That's what they claim. I've seen loads of people have reaction to it, so if you do try it, I would start by buying a small personal pack like mine rather than a whole roll of it, and do a little strip test, see how it works. I left my strip test on for 48 hours just to make sure it was okay, and it was fine. So yeah, Saniderm, I will leave the link down below. If you guys have any more questions regarding Saniderm, regarding my process of healing, or any questions about it, or even questions about my tattoo or my thigh or anywhere else, please do let me know. So I'm sorry this has been a slightly long one, but thank you so much for watching. If you do have any questions or comments, please leave them down below. If it's this sunny where you are, I hope you're enjoying the shade, and I'll see you next time. Bye!